Hi guys, this is Allison from AllyKatzkreations. How are you? Oh yeah, I got notes. Before I even start into what we're even talking about today, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of videos. I was going through them the other day. It's like, oh wow, did a lot of work. Watch, learn, absorb. Topic for today: my insights on a Wondrous Handbook. Now, I did a video already. I'm again revamping just to keep things safe on reincarnation, the veil of forgetting, karma. And I'm going to scratch the one that was on the last video because I'm going to save it for another time. And I'm going to go over forgiveness because it's a reoccurring theme. And confirmation from the horn and the alarm of whoever that was in my neighborhood. So I'm going to read something that I wrote on my Facebook page. I read it with the Law of One. So again, excuse moi if I'm repeating myself. I never know who's watching, what audience watches what. You guys seem to, a lot of people don't like all the content, so they'll only watch certain things. So I think it's important just to repeat this because it's relevant, and it's, I think, a reason why that I spent a very long time today going over it, just to make sure I was saying the right stuff. So this is on my private Facebook. If you find me, I'll most likely grant you an okay. I'm also on Truth Social. You can find me at AllyKatzkreations211. I'm also on Twitter. I didn't reactivate. I made a new account when everybody got. I just deleted and left. So this is my own quote. I'm quoting myself. Word of my day, catalyst. Everything in this third dimensional experience was arranged by you, me, all of us, prior to incarnation, because your soul needed growth. So all the negative things in one's life can be called catalysts. Those then determine how you respond to the lesson being given. When you stop responding in fear to all that triggers you and logically ask, what is this trying to teach me? Is when you won the first battle. We live in duality. Good and evil both must and will exist. Creator established this matrix so it can experience itself through us. Use the catalyst to love, forgive, and release. Thanking that difficulty for granting one strength and perseverance. Everything occurs with reason for a reason. It's up to you to evolve consciously above the simulated catalyst, throwing you off balance. Respond differently and your paradigm shifts. Stop allowing the outside world to dictate to you. Allow your heart and inner wisdom to guide you. And that, my friends, is on Facebook because about 80% of my followers on Facebook are people who are asleep. I live in New York. And a lot of people, as bright and intelligent as they are, and as much of loving human beings as they are, needed to hear that. And a lot of people are starting to talk about, I noticed today watching my favorite Jason on 2 shows. A lot of people are starting to tackle the incarnation aspect. And I did this months ago. I did this topic months ago, but sometimes when things come into your purview that you have to revamp, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want my channel to be wiped off. That there's a reason for that to happen. There was a reason why I was supposed to go back and revisit everything and to put back out the knowledge. Because now I think more people are ready to hear a perspective on reincarnation, the veil of forgetting. It's not easy at all. This is why we're here, is we chose to be here. We chose to have these experiences happening to us. And I'll go into it because I'm going to go off in the book a little bit. But we all have to realize that they chose their experience and they chose to be blinded. They chose and wanted that experience. So we have to accept it and release it. And again, we have to forgive. And I'll go in, that's like one of the main topics of tonight that I would like to tackle with everybody. It's one of the hardest human things to do. It is not easy. And it's harder for us to stop ourselves and to readjust our thinking. And it takes time. It's taken some people decades and lifetimes to even be here in the conscious now, and now just coming to all this information. So you have to forgive yourself. It's priority number 1. So we're going to start with reincarnation. We visit Ra for this topic as we incarnate into 3rd density, the physical body. We begin in darkness. And I just covered that with the last law of 1, but for those of you who didn't watch that video, we start out in our mother's womb. Those of us not cloned. You start off in your mother's womb, and that's a dark, moist, and a lot of people hate that word, but it's the truth. We are in a sack of amniotic fluid in our mommy's bellies, and it's complete, utterly dark. The words that describe 3rd density is sleeping and forgetting. We'll cover that in the veil of forgetting. But it's tackled, everything overlaps with this, so if it sounds like it's repeating, there's a reason for it. We were prior, prior, and all the lives lived in 3rd density is the only density of forgetting, which free will gives each an experience of growth, choice, and learning. This creates innocence, a sense of self-preservation. We all slowly come to realize we have needs, such as companionship, laughter, trade, love, all of this and more for a universal perspective. The first portion of 3rd density, so I'm going to pause right there because each density has its own cycle. I have to go back in the law of 1 and see what Ross says about the first density being, like, let's just say, for instance, I'm not saying this is the exact cycle frame, but 75,000 years is first density. So you always have a beginning point and then you have an ending point. And that ending point is where you hit your sub, and then the octave of the next density. So you start off as a rock, and you're a rock for a hell of a long time. And then all of a sudden you become aware of the wind. So then you become the wind. Dolores Cannon discusses this a bit in her 3 Waves book. And by the way, I will get back to The Convoluted Universe and the 3 Waves by Dolores Cannon. I think they're very important books, but because of what happened with her publishers, I'm waiting. I don't think it's safe, or it's time to put that information back out. Not because it's not genuine or good, it's amazing. But I have to be super careful with them, because obviously they don't want knowledge. And I'd rather just speak it from Dolores's own words because it's very important. Anyway, so we're going through second density. We are the ant, we are the bee, we are the mammal, and then all of a sudden we start becoming more aware and more aware, but we're not quite conscious. We're living off of instinct. Animals live off of instinct. They shit, hiss, and eat, and they go with their packs. They're not worried about what their mate looks like. They're worried about what their mate smells like because of the pheromones. And they all choose and pick a partner, but they're not really looking. They're looking for potency. So, King of the Jungle. I have my second co-host, Ethan, over there by my feet. They just do what is instinctually within their brains. But then here comes the human in third density. We're on the octave. And then we start our experience. So whether we want to believe in Neanderthals or not, we were shaped, molded, and had thousands and thousands and thousands of lives in third density. And that cycle again was extended 75,000 plus years. And it took all this cycling and all this time and all these collapses, the deluge, and all these fun things for then here we are. We're at the tail end, if not the almost end, of third density. And normally there would be a big cataclysm that wipes us out. And I'm not saying that it will or not happen. I don't know. I don't think so. But we're there. And this is why this information is really important, so that people can start understanding and getting the knowledge now that you've lived a lot before you came here. And it might have not been on this planet. You might have been outside of, the firmament. You could have been inside the firmament, but outside of the wall. However you want to perceive, you're manifesting your reality. So I don't care what universe you want to be in, what you want, you manifest your simulation. So we go through all of third density, and here we are, we're self-aware, and now we're aware of others. But there's a problem. We got blank slated. So all the previous lives you've lived and all the knowledge that you have obtained from both first density, second density, and then if you're a wanderer or a starseed, you're already coming in on a higher octave on another density because you were probably 5th, 6th, 7th. Depends. And again, everybody's individualized and everybody's different. Everybody's story is going to be different and everybody's journey will be different. So don't base what I'm telling you on just a one person thing. Everybody comes in a different frequency and vibration. So because we forget, this creates innocence so that we can experience growth, choice, and learning. It's a sense of self-preservation, and we all slowly come to realize we have needs. So we're slowly, as we, I'll just read it from here, and then I'll go into what I want to say. The first portion of their density as the early stages, the sub-octave, you are rapidly incarnated over and over again. So you are a Neanderthal, just a scenario, okay? And there's dinosaurs. Maybe they're not dinosaurs, maybe the aliens are here, okay? I don't care who, what, where, when, okay? Just a scenario for argument's sake. And you're just foraging for or hunting for your meat or the elements outside. Something happens to you, you die. You go straight back up and straight back in. Because you're going to have another experience in each of these lives, short, long, no matter, no difference. You take those unconsciously in your mind and you build upon them. And each life you live, you gain karma, good and bad. And then you move through life learning all the catalysts that you didn't learn in the prior life. So in the first life, if I got hit by a rock, because I lived too close to a mountain and there was an avalanche or a mudslide or whatever have you. Well, next life, I won't live near a mountain top so close that I'm going to get hit by a rock. I'm going to move a little further out. And maybe that way I can learn how to perhaps farm differently or create something differently. And let's just say that this destruction happens and my little hut went on fire and I died in a fire. Well, then I'm going to live by the sea. This is just like for a scenario's sake, but each of these lives, you're coming back quickly in the beginning of third density. And as civilizations and as the cycles keep going on, and as we all collectively start learning and start building and start recognizing and coming more into self-awareness and being a part of a pack and taking care of others, more complicated catalysts and things come into your existence. And then there is then a process of slowing down so that you have longevity, so you have a longer span of time to learn your lessons. So each carnation, you're coming back. You're not really getting to choose too much. You're born, here you are, new experience. What can you learn? Whatever you didn't get to learn, you learn in the next one. It gets more complicated as you get further into their density. You've lived every culture, race, sex, and place in the world. You are part of a tribe. You're Native American. You're Asian. You're African American. You lived in Northern Europe, Western Europe, Canada, Antarctica, South America. You're everywhere. You chose to be in this body, in this vehicle for this time now. You chose your parents, you chose your circumstances, everything. You and your soul group. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that the people that are coming and going out of your life, they're a part of your tribe too. They're a part of your soul group. You made contracts or agreements with people to give you certain things. So if somebody was to do you wrong, you asked them to do you that wrong, and we'll go into it a little bit further, but you chose this experience. There isn't a need for a life review or healing because you learn a multitude of catalysts each life. Once the chakra centers activate lessons of love and forgiveness, then the incarnation is lengthened, all arranged for what your soul needs, life to life. Once the green or heart chakra, the green ray of the heart chakra, is activated, there are no more automatic incarnations. Because then now you have more of a choice. Because you're planning your catalysts. You know what your soul needs once you pass away physically and go back upstairs. You then have your choices. Okay, in this life, I have to learn how to be a better mate, a companion to somebody. Maybe the next one I have to have an experience of major loss. So I know how to self-preserve myself and how to overcome obstacles myself. Some instances, you die young, but you planned it because the other people around you needed that lesson. Nothing's by accident. And it is the hardest thing to accept when people ask, why did Creator cause cancer to happen to people, to little kids? No matter, it doesn't matter what walk of life, any disease or anything that is so horrific to watch somebody go through. And I personally watched a few of my friends go through the worst of cancers. Two really good friends of mine, really young, passed away. And I had to sit and like comprehend, well, why them? Beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful souls. Why them? Because everyone around them needed a really big kick in the ass lesson. And they chose to come in this lifetime to incarnate to give those people that lesson. So once we understand that we chose to come into this world and to be a catalyst for others, so sometimes you are the aggressor, you're not the victim, sometimes you're the aggressor. You had a fight with somebody and that triggered that person to change or just leave you and out of your life. Well, it was meant to happen that way. We have free will, don't get me wrong, but we plan a lot of the things. And again, it gets complicated because Rod really doesn't talk about timelines. But I'm going to insert the timeline thing here. Each direction you take, your timeline shifts. Each decision you make, your timeline shifts. And if enough catalysts happen in and around everybody that was supposed to be a catalyst for you, and those things shift because you already learned that lesson, that event does not no longer take place. And unconsciously, the other soul that was supposed to give you that catalyst drops off and it doesn't happen. Oh, I might have a hairball coming. Hang on. Ethan is shedding like crazy, and no matter how much I pull off of him when I groom him, it's that time of year though. gotta love transitional times because they shed their fur, so because it's getting hot. Yeah, so getting back to the timeline thing. For a personal example, I went to a medium, and this is before I was asking about my, spirit guides, and, obviously I found out a lot about that. But, I always wanted to know why I was alone and why, my mother missed out on the opportunity to get, see me get married and to be with somebody that loved me. And not to say that there aren't people who weren't worth giving love to or not. It's just a lot of things, I get a lot of guys who just don't quite understand me or where I stand with a lot of things, and it's fine. But I asked the medium at the time, and this is going back a few years ago, he's like, oh, you're going to meet somebody in an art gallery, and he has a dog he's really in love with. And when that didn't happen, and this was around the time where things started getting shut down, but I made the noble effort of going in. If anybody knows about Manhattan, Manhattan has a humongous gallery scene. I had some shows in some galleries after college, and I honestly, it's free. Some galleries you have to pay, but for the most part, you walk up and down Chelsea by Chelsea's Piers, and there's so many amazing galleries with amazing artwork. And I used to go to trips all the time when I went to college. And then after, I used to take the same trips because I really like enjoying to see what's out there in people's visions. So I was like, oh, I'm going to find this guy. And I did it for a few weeks and nothing materialized, didn't find anybody. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Maybe it wasn't meant to be. I go back a year and a half later. And I asked, like, well, what the hell happened? He goes, well, your timeline changed, sweetie. You're moving on up. Oh, okay. Like, oh, okay. I get it. Again, and he's like, that was a different timeline, and the timeline shifted, and you shifted your purpose where you're going into your highest purpose that you need to be in. I'm like, oh, okay. Does that involve somebody? Well, eventually it will, but you're not going to know until it happens. Okay. Accepted. So that's another reason why when you unless you're directly going with your, parents or whoever you want to talk to on the other side, when you ask a psychic or you ask somebody, or like even remote viewing, when you ask somebody to tell you what the future is going to look like, they're never going to know the exact future because it keeps changing. Although when we incarnate, we do have catalysts that we choose to have in our lives. Sometimes the timeline changes and we're on to another purpose because that lesson was already learned, and it was learned in a different way that you weren't expecting. Free will. But now now the next situation happens. Maybe you move. Well, then there's a whole nother set of people that you made an arrangement with that might walk in your life. You don't know. And these things are very hard to tell. But I know from a personal experience, always wanting to know why I'm almost 40. Well, I just turned 39, but why am I almost 30, like 40? And even back when I was 30, I asked the same thing, like, why didn't any of this stuff happen to me yet? Why was my time wasted with these people? And it wasn't wasted because I needed to learn that big lesson. I watched a lot of my friends get divorced and have very brutal relationships with their husbands. Why? They needed that experience. And unfortunately, the kids that are brought into these situations also ask for that experience. So there's no blame, and we'll go into that. But I just want that's another layer to add on to the reincarnation, because we have our concept of time because we're on a 3D construct, time, space, linear. Everywhere else, time is not calculated the way we comprehend it. But the timelines do shift. It doesn't mean you won't have any more catalysts coming into you. They will morph and change how they are given to you. But that's not to say that the same people will be there giving it. And most people don't realize who's giving them a lesson until it happens. So it can come from anywhere or anything. Also, we realize our other bodies, spiritual and etherical. We learn who we are, and we start seeing aspects of other people in ourselves. It's our choice to live whatever service in life we want. So this life, I chose to be a service to others and a service to Creator on more of a spiritual platform. I chose to come in not wanting religion in my paradigm because I already experienced those paradigms in past lives. I wanted a very hard, challenging life in a social complexity, because everybody is very ultra religious or follows a faith, and they can't see beyond that veil of their own faith to look outside of the box to say, well, there's more than what you were told and dictated to and what you read in that one book. And it doesn't matter. Again, I'm not pointing any one religion out. It has nothing to do with that. I looked at everything this lifetime. That makes sense. The cycle may end once we start asking. The cycle meaning us graduating to fourth density. Who am I and why am I here? What am I doing here? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I have since I was a little girl. Like being adopted and knowing that you're not from your parents. I was told very young that I was adopted. And always having to think about the other life that I could have had, or am I in a better situation? You don't know, right? Because you don't have that other experience to base yourself on. I didn't know about my birth parents until I was 34 years old. I didn't know anything about my previous life that I could have had that split off. I don't know what goes on. But I asked myself, what am I doing here? All the time. And what's interesting is when I got very angry with my parents and very frustrated with them because they were very stringent and very strict with me with certain things, and I didn't understand quite why. And of course, a lot of things they did were out of love, but they didn't let me explore enough, and they didn't let me live the life that I wanted to live. Especially in my 20s, they would before my father passed away. It was really rough for me. All my friends were going out and doing really fun things, and I wasn't allowed to do them. I'm like, but what the fuck, right? And I would always say, send me back where I came from. And that my mom's like, that used to hurt me so bad when you said it. And I was like, do you really understand though where I was coming from? Because I wanted not to be sent back to Georgia where I was born. I wanted to be actually back home where I actually came from. And then she's like, oh shit. Okay, touche. And no, it's not right to say that as an adoptee to your adoptive parents, even if they're horrible. My parents weren't horrible. They were older and they were from old school. So they weren't hip and cool. My mom wasn't my best friend. My father was absolutely not my best friend. My father lived more in his ego than anything else. Everything revolved around him. And in actually what's really interesting is my birth father that's still alive. I really stopped talking to him and I had to blow off he messaged me and I messaged him back. I'm like, you're just like my adopted father with my father. I'm like, because you think the world revolves around you, that everybody has to bow down to you. I'm like, your daughter that you just met only 4 to 5 years ago, you had nothing to do with me, right? And you want me in your life, you want to be a part of my life, but I just hit hard times and I don't have a damn family member that can help me out. You would think that you could send me $50 to go buy groceries so that I can eat. Why do my friends, who are on assistance, by the way, why are they taking their money that they get from assistance to help me out? When you're my father, regardless of whatever the circumstances were of my adoption, I'm still your child. I don't care how old I am. You should be kicking in the father mode and helping your daughter out. And I don't require much of anything more than, I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking you to be my father. And what does a father do? I didn't do anything wrong, by the way. We all know about what happened. So again, are you going to be a help to me, or are you going to sit there and criticize and make assumptions? And we'll see how many more months goes by before it drills into his head how to be a father. So yeah, so when I do ask you guys for love donations and stuff, I'm not exaggerating when I say I really don't have family. I really don't have family. And the family that does talk to me and that does support me, they're in absolutely no financial place either to even be giving me $25. Yeah. So, and that's only 3 people. And 2 of them are my second cousins who live together. And they're lucky with their circumstances that they're still alive. So just putting that one out there. I really am literally alone. Okay, enough of me ranting, but I feel like sometimes when I bring in a personal component, people start understanding the different layers of what's going on. The veil of forgetting. Not remembering your past carnations. Rob puts it, the sleep and the forgetting. Only 3rd density. This is the only density, guys. Like we've seen with the reincarnation in 3rd density, the veil lifts to a certain degree for some with chakra activations and deeper self-investigations. Most are on and in a subconscious mind in a dream state. So we come in to this 3rd density experience with a slated memory. We don't have memory of what we did in past lives. We don't know the lessons that we learned. We don't know the people that we interacted with. We don't know that in this lifetime, my mother was my sister in the last lifetime. I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know that my father was my husband in another life, because we all play and shift roles. So we all learned with our soul family. And that doesn't mean your soul family doesn't mean the family that you live with. They are included, absolutely. But it's friends, it's strangers, it's people that walk down the street and pick up your wallet and hand it back to you. They are very much still a part of your tribe, just not instantly up close. Everybody chooses experiences for each other. In each one of these lives, we play all these lives out, but you don't remember. And then there are some people that can remember. I'm one of those persons that my chakras were activated very highly as a child, and I would have reoccurring dreams. Again, in your dream state, I would have reoccurring dreams of myself older. So I was like about 6, 7 when this started to reoccur. I was in a castle in Ireland, descending down a castle stairs. I had a really like foresty green velvet, gorgeous dress, and I had a sister with me. I don't know if she was a twin or just my sister. And we get on these white horses. We would walk out and go to the stables and go on white horses. And then you're seeing the cliffs and the water. And then far, far away with the horses, we would go into the forest to forage. And then we would go to a little cottage and dry all the herbs up and everything that we foraged for. We'd put it up. In this life, my sister is my gatekeeper. She is my spirit guide who helps me open up the gateway to the other side. She needed me to know as a young girl that I had somebody, I had a sister, I wasn't alone, because I always felt like that. And she cemented that into me with those dreams. But then I've had other dreams where I'd be a man running in a forest with a pack of wolves. The wolves weren't attacking me. I was with the pack of wolves as a man, and I lived amongst them. This life, those pack of wolves are my spirit guides. I did in a prior video about my reincarnation story, where I was stoned to death in the time of Yeshua and Julius Caesar. That I was an oracle. I was a prophet. I was taken out. Some people can recall these things. Some people get these dreams. Some people get flashes. Not all, but some. And I'm sure it, and again, let me read this. This is a quote directly from Ra. This veil then is to be seen as an ally, as the seeker either will with joy or without, it moves through the lessons. And as this instrument would say, the recesses out and the vacations of the incarnational experience are in. When the past life memories needs to come into this consciousness, awareness, it will through dreams or through meditation. It's to help accelerate your process of spiritual evolution, to help aid one's intuition. Then we can repeat who I am and what am I doing here? Questions. So as a child, I needed my spiritual evolution to be heightened extremely because there wasn't resources around me to help me heighten my spiritual evolution. And that's the life I chose for this lifetime, is to be spiritually evolved. And each one of you have a different experience. If you can recall a past life, there might be for another reason for why you can recall them. I don't think it's just this one thing that is mentioned by Ra, but I do feel that it's an alignment. And now that the veil is thinning, and again, if I pluck the guitar string and it's vibrating and the frequencies are going up and down, so are we. We're not in a stable sub logos. We're not only in a sub logos, and we're not in the octave yet. We're bouncing up and down between all of them. You're going to start remembering who you were, because now you have to remember those past experiences that you have had that are going to get you into the fourth dimension, fourth density. And if you want to say fifth density, fifth dimension, fourth density, that's okay too. We are all going to go where it is appropriate for us. Again, we get to choose our experience. We get to choose if we hop on into fourth density and we are already on the fourth density lessons and we just have to finish them up. It might take a month. It might take 2 weeks. And then you zip up. There are some people though who are already on that vibration, but you're here to help guide people to the fourth dimension. So you're hanging out in third, moving up and down this plucky string, waiting for more people to grow and to wake up so that you can help them transition into understanding of what they need to do and the work they need to have. So there's a transition team, and a lot of us are on that team. So don't be upset if everybody's starting to move up and you're not. It's not because you're being punished, it's because you're supposed to help. And again, not everybody is going to come to fourth density, and not everybody is going to come to you. It's a catalyst. Some people will come to you and some people will not, and don't force it. But some people are the transition team. That means we get to suffer more. Yay! Just another catalyst. Just another catalyst. Just another catalyst. So we have to think about, when you come into this world, you come in through your mom, you have your experiences, you self-discover yourself, you go through life with certain things that happen, and they always have a reason for it happening. And sometimes until later on in your life, do you figure out why that happened. Scary, but the truth. And my aunt can collaborate with this. As a young child, I used to tell, not my parents, but I told my aunt that my parents were going to die when I was in my youth. I'm like, I don't think I could see them moving past when I turned 30. And my aunt just looked at me and like, my father died when I was 22 and my mother died when I was 34. I was being shown and told those things, or I had the knowing of those things as a little child to mentally prepare me for when that was actually going to happen. And how the hell do you prepare for that? You don't. But in the back of your mind, it's there. You don't really think about it. As a kid, I just, I remember writing down dates. I don't remember what book I wrote it in, but I do remember writing down when I thought they were going to die. That's creepy. That's super freaking creepy, not gonna lie. But I was given that for a reason, and that was mentally to prepare me. Many people get signs and they don't understand what those signs are, but later on, it'll dawn on you, oh, that's why that happened. So I just want to put that out there. And I mean, a lot of people tell me their stories. You know, some people have catastrophic incidents that happen to their lives, or they have near-death experiences, and those experiences snap them out of whatever old paradigm they had and brought a humongous perspective to them, and they got to do their life's work, even if they were not in the best health or had setbacks after setback. It was to test your strength. And it was also to put you on a different course because you were serving a higher source. My interview with Chad is a prime example of that. But this brings us into the topic of karma. I've talked about this before, but I'm going, this Ra calls karma inertia. When you put an action into motion until you stop it and hold the brakes in, the stopping of inertia of action, we employ forgiveness. So let's just take negative karma. My abusive ex-boyfriend did something really wicked to me, and I didn't do this. I wouldn't, but just to say, for argument's sake, I go and key his car because that's his prized possession. Okay, so then I have negative Nancy karma coming down my path in another form that will hit me. Even though he did the abusive thing, I set my own karma into motion by doing an action that was not of moral sounding. I set that into motion. But what if I stopped the brakes in the first place and said, why was he abusive to me? What was he trying to teach me? What lesson was he here in my life to give me? And then I could take a step back before doing a motion that would give me bad karma and go, okay, wait. I'm going to put the brakes on this. I'm going to stop it in its motion, and I'm going to forgive him because he was just sent here to teach me a lesson. And instead of carrying this cycle on, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to thank it with gratitude, by the way, and say, okay, I see what happened there. I had to have a lesson. And in this instance, it was the narcissist empathic relationship. Many of you know about that. And it don't matter, male, female, reverse, that doesn't matter. I needed that massive lesson to stand in my sovereignty and stop allowing people to take advantage of me and of my energy. So by applying the brakes before you do something that will cause even worse things to happen to you, it's the law of attraction. It's stop it in its tracks, whatever it is. Okay. You're in a bad abusive relationship. Instead of even hitting back, get the hell out of it. Forgive it. Now you understand what that lesson was about. And each one of us has a different lesson and a different catalyst. That means something different for each of us. So I'm just implying my own. forgive it, and move on. Release. And if you haven't learned that lesson and it repeats again with another person, well, then you didn't learn your lesson, and it's going to keep repeating until you stop it, reflect on it, and go, what was that trying to teach me? And if you really can't think about it or figure it out, that's okay. Still forgive and move on. Release. To abolish karma in this incarnation, understand the cycle, acceptance of the catalyst/lesson, and have forgiveness, not only for others, but you need to forgive yourself. We need to maintain balanced chakras and energy centers. And this is a quote, in addition to forgiveness, which is largely an indigo ray working, the gift of blue ray energy, clear communication also helps stop the wheel of karma. And that's the forgiveness of error. You are human and you're going to make mistakes. Why? Because you have to learn from your mistakes. There is no walking in this life without making a mistake. There is no way you're going to learn anything from without making mistakes. But after that mistake is made and you're cognizant of it, because a lot of people aren't cognizant, or it's not pointed out to them in a constructive way. You know, when I was working in my old job, and people used to treat me like shit, as an empath, I used to mirror their behavior back to them without realizing it. I didn't realize that subconsciously it was just, I was just doing me, but I was reflecting their nastiness on them. And one day it dawned on me that I was doing that and I stopped in my tracks. And I looked at the person that I was reflecting and I said, I'm going to tell you why I'm acting the way I am towards you, because I'm mirroring how you act towards me. I'm sorry that I'm doing that to you. I am now consciously aware of it. I forgive you for treating me in a distasteful way. Now you getting back what you are dishing out. Maybe we can come to a compromise that we have a better form of communication when we're working. And you don't have to talk to me or invite me to wherever, because obviously the way you're treating me is the way I'm treating you, and you're not seeing that you're treating me bad. So maybe we just need to have a respectful co-worker relationship and leave it there. And once I did that, because I clearly communicated that I recognized that I was dishing it back, and that's just not something I want to do, but sometimes it needs to happen so people are aware that they're treating you bad. Some people don't realize the things that they say are very harmful until you point it out to them. Clear communication is using your blue ray center. And you're working from your crown. So you can forgive the situation, which I did. I forgave her for not really being consciously aware that she was really hurting my feelings and treating me in front of children in a not professional way. And that we can reset, restart. And after we talked out and we were civil with each other, we found a way to work together in a better, clear, communicative way that it worked. That is not easy to do. But I had to forgive myself once I realized that I was doing that back and saying, well, that's not me. And I understand this was unconscious. I forgive myself. That's something she needed. That's a lesson she needed to learn, but she wasn't even cognizant of what she was doing in the first place. So I had to nicely point it out to her in a nice way and come up with a solution that stopped the inertia from continuing going on. So I had to forgive myself for acting that way. I had to forgive her for not realizing that that's how she was treating me and she didn't realize. I had to release that energy and that karma and let it go and then start afresh and revamp that relationship. So it worked for the good of the children. And it did. And that's, again, and just one example. Karma is really weird. We do carry it from lifetime to lifetime, but there's ways of clearing it. And a big way to do that is to forgive yourself. A lot of the times, most humans live subconsciously. Sometimes you really aren't aware that you're hurting another person's feelings until they have to point it out. But you don't know until they point it out to you. Well, that hurts my feelings. Oh, and then you clearly communicate what the issue is and fix it. But a lot of adults can't handle that. And if they can't, that's their choice. Forgive yourself and release it. Stop the inertia. Stop the karma from accumulating. And again, we're human and we make mistakes, and that's absolutely okay. But when you can forgive yourself, you're stopping that cycle from happening. And you're cutting the ties to it. You're saying, bye-bye, adios, goodbye. We're going to move into what I've been talking about. Again, this little overlays. Catalyst and experience. Incarnation, you place catalysts in your experience, as I was explaining earlier. It's all for your soul growth and learning opportunities. It's about how to respond to each catalyst. Is it with love and compassion or anger and frustration? Sometimes we choose way more experiences and catalysts because before we incarnate, we are aware of how we can fix each problem or react. Wait. Sorry, I don't number my notes. Or react in a love and pure way. Then we get here and, oh man, we forget. I'm one of those cases. I chose way too many catalysts to deal with at once. Way too many. And then my higher sixth density self had to come in and swap my old soul out and say, all right, other self, I gotta help her out now because you won't be able to handle what's coming next. And here we are, the awakening, and but it's all necessary. But here again, it's all an illusion, and it's a test to see if you have faith and perseverance. And now I do. I'm rather calm about my situation. I do get emotional on some of my videos. I've come close to like hysterically crying. But 9 times out of 10, I'm calm about my situation. I'm not really worried about it. I'm not really thinking about it because worrying about things that are just meant to be and are supposed to happen, I don't have control over that. I have control over how I respond. So instead of me flipping out and taking my life, which I thought about, when this first happened, the first time I lost a job and my whole life collapsed, I didn't want to live. I didn't see a purpose in it. This time, because of that soul swap, I'm handling it more on a calmer, even keel basis. I'm not happy with my situation. I know there's a lesson to learn from it and to show me how strong I am. Absolutely. It taught me that I have to ask others for help, which I don't do because I don't really receive much help, but I have received help. So I have to acknowledge that. There are good people in this world. There are people willing to help others. I've done enough of that my entire life, and no, it might have not been to everybody that asked for help, but I pointed people in the direction where they can get help. So we have to take that into consideration, that we put these things in our lives, and sometimes it's a little too much, but in the end, it's a test. And if you have faith in yourself, faith in Creator, and faith in that you can manifest what you need, things will start happening. This is the advice. Take it slow and easy. Bless it, receive it, love it in a stable manner. Don't push beyond yourself. It could damage. Quote, using catalyst is something the seeker cannot avoid. This illusion of yours is created to make evasion of catalyst impossible and full use of catalyst improbable. End quote. Quote, the illusion we are in is imperfect, which forces our minds, emotions to hone in on all not perfect, which only continues the cycle of suffering. So nothing here is perfect. There is no perfect reality. There's no perfect life. Everybody, rich, poor, and indifferent, goes and puts catalysts in their experience. Some people signed up to be poor. Some people signed up to be rich. And no matter what, they still have life lessons they have to learn from each of those lives. So what are you putting in your life now that you're becoming consciously aware that you have missions and lessons and things to do? What are you putting in your way that you can learn from? What's coming to you? Quote, quoting quote now, forgiving completely that which this density of experience confers upon each and every sentient citizen of eternity. All the negative emotions makes us seek relief and helps you. We're to insert love and light and overcome pain and suffering. At the end of the day, do you do you. Be your best self. We are all learning how to unravel each lesson and catalyst. So again, there's no right or wrong, and there's no timetable for these things. But when you become consciously aware that you have put things in your path to teach you and teach you a lesson so that you can grow and learn the lessons of their density so you can move forward, it doesn't need to be perfect, but you got to love yourself and forgive yourself. And understand that it's just an illusion. It's all a test. And we have to do best, we have to do best by ourselves, for ourselves. Do you. You go through life every day. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, you make your coffee, you eat your breakfast, whatever you do, and then you go to work or you do what you do. Do you. When something comes and arises in your life, ask the question, what Is this serving me? Is this a lesson? Is this a challenge? Am I the one giving a challenge to somebody? Did I sign up to be the catalyst for somebody? You have to think of it two ways. It's not only about you, it's about the arrangement you made with others. Maybe in this life I was supposed to teach the men that came into my life how to have compassion, how to be sensitive, how to take care of themselves, how to treat a woman. Because I sure didn't get treated properly in any of my relationships. So was I that person to teach them not to make that mistake again? Sure. Sucks. But then I have to forgive myself that I allowed them to treat me that way. Which runs into forgiveness, the last topic of tonight. Forgiveness. The most powerful tool we have is forgiveness. You're going to hold yourself, as Hatann says, accountable for the pain and suffering you endure. It equates to damnation. Though it's our spiritual path that has to knock on the door and realize we have to open it, the self-forgiveness, the entranceway. One needs error in life in order to learn from it. You need to apply mercy on yourself. We are only human having a learning experience. Quo states, what did I write here? The desire for us to forgive is enough to begin with. You can't put conditions on forgiveness. You can't. You can't put conditions on forgiveness. And that's for sure. Quote, to forgive another, truly one must erase all conditions. So not only do you have to forgive yourself and not apply conditions to that forgiveness, that also includes other people. Victimhood. This might trigger some of you. You have to understand we all play roles for each other. We choose certain people to victimize us as a catalyst for a lesson. That person agreed to play that role. We just forget. Again, we go through the veil of forgetting. When we're upstairs in our six-dimensional selves at the round table going, all right, we're all going to carnate into this life together. You're going to be coming in this year. You're going to be coming in that year. You're going to be coming in here. You're going to play the mom. You're going to play the dad. You're going to be the sister. You're going to be the brother. You're going to be the uncle. You're going to be the boyfriend. You're going to be the husband. You're going to be this. You're going to be that and the other thing. All right. So, Allison, your lifetime is you are getting ready to harvest the fourth density as a human. Here's what you need to do and work on. Okay. So, can you be the boyfriend who abuses me so that I can learn how to step into my sovereignty and step into my power and speak up that I should not allow that to happen? All right, cool. I'll see you in 25 years. Great. You're going to teach me whatever the case is. Okay, and this can also go into social situations. Division of races. At some point, every race was slaved or used or decimated or genocided. It's not just one. It's focused now in this society because they know the power that certain races have. And they don't want those races to understand that. So it's not just a person to person, it's a societal thing as well. And once you understand that you incarnated into an experience, because not only are you having self lessons, you're trying to help the society around you understand and wake up. That's what's happening right now to a lot of us. We collectively, on some level, see how this society is no longer functioning for us, we the people, how infiltrated the world has become, how we pay all these taxes and yet we see all these things happening and the money just disappears and it's not being used for the purpose that it was intended for. So who's putting a stop to any of this? Oh, and then there's corrupt everything in the in between. So no matter what, you lose your case, you lose your society, you lose your value in this world. So now it's our time to collectively, not just as a soul family, now we're including the tribe. So you have your family, which is a collective of a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of families, right? Now you're extending this to a tribe, a whole collective. So there's multiple layering here. Multiple layering. It's not just your soul family. Now you have your tribe, your societal tribe. What you identify with. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, so I was brought up in a situation where I'm in poverty. Society gave me all these circumstances. And those were catalysts to show you that you are above that. And you can overcome it. And you're going to find a way to do so. You just have to learn how to stand in your power. And you also have to learn to forgive these people because they were put, these things, these divisive things, this ugly societal fun is just an illusion to teach us. So what's happening in our paradigm right now, we need to literally thank the evilest people who do the worst things in society and thank them for waking you up, for making you become aware, because they got so lazy and they started showing their hand and more people started seeing it and more people started seeing it and more people are experiencing it now because now it's forced to be shown to you. Some of you who are not awake yet. It was there to help us evolve. And those roles were played by people who chose to play them to help. So you have to forgive those evil people and release that energy. Forgive yourself for giving in to any of that energy. And you'll be okay for fourth density. Latwii, quote, you come to respect and an honoring and a loving and a nurturing of yourself, end quote. In order to forgive others, you have to forgive yourself. And you have to recognize that there was places in your life that you were wrong. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of people to admit, that they were wrong or they weren't aware. And it doesn't make one ignorant. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you would like to know it or not, you were brainwashed by many different means. Not just from television, not just from the computer, not just from your phones, from the food that you eat. And again, there's no such thing as organic in my eyes. There's less chemicaled food, but in the atmosphere, it's now starting to be cleaned up, unbeknownst to some people. The water you drink, everything is tainted to lower your vibes. You have to forgive it, because now you're aware, and now you hold the power within you to change it and how to respond to it. So you can let it go and you can move up. Because fourth density, you're going to be learning about compassion. It's not just about love. It's about compassion, having compassion for others. Why do you think Yeshua came down to help teach us? Buddha, Moses, Muhammad. And there's many others. They came down to teach this exact thing. No matter what the atrocities are, you have to forgive. Because sometimes people are infiltrated and they don't know what they're doing. Or there's an obstacle in their life that they can't overcome and they can't see it to overcome it. Ra, healing is a process of acceptance, forgiveness. Judgment is also something on the table before I end this. You're a human, and no matter what, you're going to judge. You can judge anything, and we do it a lot. There's scales and levels to everything that we do. We have to start recognizing that not everybody's on your level. Not everybody's going to get it right away. And, you know, when I, especially when I read the metaphysics and things, you know, I don't really, I shouldn't explain myself, but I do anyway, because I like debate. But a lot of people are like, well, why did you read Kant? Like, well, because not everybody is, well, read in Kant, and not because they don't know right from wrong, but because sometimes you need to hear it in another way in order to have that light bulb go off and realize. I've read existentialism, and something within that struck a chord with me and saved my life. And why would you think existentialism, out of all philosophy, you could pick and choose better forms of the philosophy, but the wording and the way it was written through several different philosophers just resonated with me. It's not going to resonate with everybody, and that's fine. We're all on different levels, but all collectively we are one. We all express different things, but we collectively are all one. We're all a part of the tribe. We all bring in something to the table. Again, we all have a piece to the puzzle, and it's for us to take that puzzle piece, recognize it, and place it on the table so we can put the puzzle together and make the bigger picture. We can't do that if everybody's using their ego. And yeah, there's a lot of people out there way more smarter than me and way more informed and aware. But that's okay. Those people don't need to resonate with me, and I don't knock them for what they know. there are people out there still unaware of what's going on in the societal paradigm. There's a lot of people who are still in their studies, and which is fine. But there's a lot of questions that could be answered if you looked outside of the paradigm that you're in. And I'm only giving you one form of something that you could look into, that if it resonates with you, great. If not, you just heard another perception. You keep that in the back of your brain and you go, okay, chill. I'm going to do me, because that's what role I came here to play. And I'm going to have an open mind. I'm going to forgive myself when the error comes up. And forgiveness is something that a lot of people can't do. And it's easier to forgive another person than it is for yourself. So recognize that. It's something to work on. It's something that I'm not perfected in any of this, because sometimes I'm not cognizant of it. I'm not aware that I'm doing or saying something. And a lot of the times it's compounded even worse because I'm channeling spirit information. And sometimes it's not me talking, it's spirit, but through me. So I have to be aware of a few things when I speak. But I wanted to convey that today. I saw a lot of people today in the chats that I was in. We're talking about the reincarnation, but it also falls into the veil of forgetting and karma and forgiveness. And it all overlaps and overlays each other. So hope you guys got something out of that. I highly recommend this book. You don't have to be a starseed or resonate with that to get any of this information is for anybody. And it's very helpful. For the times that we're going through right now, it's lengthy, but it's so good. And it's going to help you if the law of one's a little complicated and you get lost, and I get it. This helps piece a lot of the things that we're going through right now together and what we need to do to move up. And again, that's just one perspective, but it seems to be flowing with a lot of the things that I've read throughout my life about this ascension, and we'll get there and we'll work on it together because we're all going together. Sending each and every one of you love and light. Don't forget to hit that like button. You're helping me help you. Share. Subscribe. My numbers keep going up and down. The other places I upload starting to grow. Again, I'm here. I'm serving my purpose that I was told to serve. I'm in my role that I'm supposed to be doing. Ask yourself, what role are you playing and what are you doing? And I'm going to give you guys a hint. I'm working on something really fun for the next series. I'm not scrapping the gray agenda at all. It's going to come back because I'm going to go over the good guys. But I want what's just been coming out with the news cycle with the UFOs to come out a little bit more before I go back to it. But it involves the game World of Warcraft. And it kind of will help explain on maybe a younger person's level, a person that's a gamer. It will explain reincarnation. It will explain the levels and the densities. and how we moving into the future. I'm working on getting at least the first episode in the background. I'm trying to get pictures and stuff that I'm allowed to share, and should be very interesting. So stay tuned for that one. And until the next time, have an amazing day wherever you are. Please be safe. The world is bubble, protect, cleanse, and release. And most importantly, start forgiving. And until the next time, bye guys.